The Smiths.
Once upon a time, there lived the Smith family. The youngest kids, Becky and Joe, worked in the fields drawing resources from the ground to support their family. This was known as a primary economic activity.
The older kids, Tim and Kate, used the resources from their younger siblings to make new things, like clothes, for their family. This was called secondary economic activity.
Their parents, Kim and Billy, worked in the tertiary economic activity, and they were both teachers. All their life, the family dreamed of advancing to the quaternary economic activity so they could have a large impact on the world.
In the beginning of their family, they started out as hunters and gatherers. Their great-great-great-great-grandfather, Sherman, was nomadic and migrated by following his cattle around to new places every month. This is now called transhumance migration. Sherman was the patriarchal of the family, and everyone looked up to him and what he did.
Okay. One day, Sherman was going on an adventure and discovered stones that he used to create tools and weapons to help him survive. As he was on his way, he found himself in the hearth of Mesoamerica, which was located around Mexico and was one of the places that farming practices began. At this time, the Neolithic Revolution was occurring, so it was hard to find somewhere to settle. Sherman continued to walk around, and he heard a faint noise coming from the bushes across the field. He slowly began to tiptoe over to the bush, and then a man popped out screaming, "I am Carl Sawyer, a famous cultural geographer." Sherman then said, "Famous? I've never heard of you." "I am the one and only who believed that vegetative planning began in Southeast Asia."
As time moved on, Sherman believed that Carl was crazy and didn't know what he was talking about. To keep Carl away from him, Sherman built a fence. In his new area, he rotated crops to keep enough nutrients in the soil so that the crops would continue to grow. A strange farmer came up to his door one day with a new invention, which was the Jethro seed drill. The invention made it possible to more effectively plant seeds and created the first component for the Industrial Revolution.
Now that Sherman was living in the area, he began to lose water resources. The only way he could get water was if he sat at the bottom of a hill with his bucket and collected the water as it rolled down the hill. A large-scale idea of this would be terracing. The water that he didn't use was put towards irrigation or assets to grow the crops. Also, food was becoming scarce, so he had to come up with an idea for food to be traded. He figured the best place would be between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, from North America to Europe, Asia, and Africa. He called it the Columbian Exchange, and food such as squash, turkey, beans, and corn were now able to be sent to other places.
Now that Sherman had plenty of resources, he worked his way up to being the only one in the family to work in the quaternary economic activity. He had never been more proud and had lived happily ever after.